So welcome to New Earth podcast and welcome Steve Nobel this week. We're going to be talking about the joys and pitfalls of the spiritual path. Lovely to have you on the show, Steve.
Oh, my pleasure, Sarah. Thanks for inviting me.
So Steve is the creator of Soul Matrix, which if you duck down, I think you can kind of see it behind you. He's also an author and has a 5D ascension school. And I might add, a very nice collection of very brightly coloured, joyful socks I found.
Yes, today is orange with green dots.
Oh, fabulous! We'll have to wait for the look at those, but I'm sure they'll appear on your social media at some point.
Probably, yeah. Yes. Okay. I can show you them if I can get them up. Hold on, let's see. There they are. There's my socks.
Spiritual yoga.
Yeah.
Sock yoga.
Yeah, people like my socks.
We're going to have a little chat about the joys and the pitfalls of the spiritual path. So I just thought it would be interesting to hear how you first got onto the spiritual path yourself, Steve.
I was as a child, I was very interested in alternative sci-fi, futuristic. Doctor Who was just like my absolute favorite. I was actually around to see the very first episode. I think it was 1963 or 64. I was about 6 or 7 or something, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, people can travel through time in this weird TARDIS." So this was amazing. Comics, all that, lots of futuristic stuff, and tolerated up to a point, then less tolerated as a teenager. I started really looking at spiritual. I wrote to a few spiritual organizations. I visited them. I was 15. It's quite young really to be doing that. I found an author called Lobsang Rampa. I don't know if any of your listeners would know him. He was big in the 70s and the kind of Tibetan incarnation. And I wrote to him. He actually replied. So here I am, this kind of 14, 15-year-old weird teenager. And then I started getting into yoga, macrobiotics, and martial arts. And by this time, my parents were a bit fed up. And the message I got, particularly from my father, my mother was kind of like ignoring it as far as she could, but my father was, why can't you just get stop daydreaming, and you're going to get a proper job. So I was doing A levels, and I thought, well, I kind of gave up of searching, really. I was a searcher, but not really finding anything. And so I gave up. I tried to be normal. I went into the city of London. I got married at 21, 2 children by the age of 25. And here I was in this kind of normal life, but very unhappy in the normal life. And then my father passed in 1991. And that felt like a spell had broke, really. That's the only way I could describe it. A spell broke. And I felt free to explore. And actually, I didn't really explore. Spirit found me in various ways. It kind of tapped me on the shoulder, pointed me. And within 6 months of his death, I'd found practically every major speaker group, author, channel that was going to be important for the next 20 years. It was my experience of synchronicity, which was very intense. And suddenly I thought, oh, maybe the universe is magical,
Wow.
My ex-wife was not very happy. I was getting up early in the morning to do all these meditations on awakening the light body, which she was like tutting and shaking her head and all these kind of things. So after a few years, we did separate. It was very difficult because it wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was actually, I felt I had no choice. And that led me onto my path where I trained with someone called Jill Edwards of Living Magically. She's passed over now. For about 9 years or so, very intensely with her. She introduced me to a lot of things, shamanism, Wicca, metaphysics, all kinds of things were opening up. And so from 1991, I had the magical, joyful, challenging, but it was by and large joyful and happy. Even though there was this big challenge of the divorce, that was the big challenge. But apart from that, it was synchronicity, connecting, everything was kind of opening. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Another door opens. Let me explore that one. And let's go there and let's go there. I'm meeting interesting people I probably had soul connections with. And some of them I'm still very connected with to this day. So it was a magical time. And I think for a lot of people on the path, certainly the initial stages can feel joyful and magical. and wonderful. Suddenly the eyes open to this new universe, you know, like, wow.
That's incredible. And for a lot of people, it is that kind of catalyst moment, like for you with your father passing away and suddenly feeling free. You know, often that's the case as well. And sometimes that can be quite difficult for people as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, the awakening of most people, it's two ways. Either there's a challenge, something really difficult, or there's something magical, a magical plant medicine journey, a magical meditation, a magical connection, a magical synchronicity. So it's either one or the other usually wakes us up. Some people now are coming in fully awake. I mean, I've seen children who are pretty awake from a young age, but that's not the case when I was around. Maybe, I don't know.
That's the thing. We've got all these layers of conditioning and we're in much more density than, you know, the children are ready to go. It's just us that have to do all this hard clearing and everything.
We've done all the hard pioneering. We've shoveled the snow away so they can come along going, oh, it's easy, isn't it? And we're like, yeah, it's easy because a lot of pioneers have been making pathways for you. Yeah. So, yeah, I think my awakening was challenging, but then magical, I would say. Yeah.
And your path is very much supporting starseeds and light workers in the ascension process at this time. That's very much your kind of position and journey, isn't it?
Yeah. I think because I was born in the late 50s, and so I'm ahead of a whole few waves of starseeds, I imagine. I came in early when there was nothing very much around really to support. You know, I was considered particularly weird. These days, it's less weird. It's more trend. Maybe it's more trendy to be called a starseed. I don't know, but certainly, I'd never even heard of it when I was growing up. So now, I mean, I had my magical awakening. I had a second awakening in 2010, which was difficult and dark and heavy and dark night of the soul. And after that, 6 years of that, I got told by a voice, teach about starseeds and ascension. And I really wasn't sure about starseeds and ascension up until that point. That voice was very clear that it wanted me to do that. And I thought, well, I don't really know. I mean, I've done a lot of my own personal journey, but what do I really have to share? Do I have anything to share? And I started on the journey and people were coming. At my first workshop, 30 people turned up and they're all going, oh, well, we want more, we want more. And I'm like, really? Do I have any more? Oh, goodness. And the voice, these kind of guides were keep going, start this, start, and then at a certain point, I can't remember at what point, start transmissions. The transmission thing started of meditations, and that started up, and putting them on YouTube and stuff like that. And then I got the voice, do sessions and do this and do webinars. And so it's really like following, by and large, following this kind of guidance and just going, okay, well, I can do that. And I remember saying to the voice, particularly with sessions, well, what will I do in sessions? And the voice kind of said, well, you'll work it out, which is like very annoying, isn't it, when they get those kind of voices?
I've had loads of those kind of messages. I had it for this podcast, actually. I didn't even know how to edit a video. And it was like, you'll work it out. I just literally had to just go for it. That's what I was guided to not get stuck in the technical, just be in my heart and just go for it. So
yeah, it's nice sometimes to get specific guidance, like turn left there, turn right there, rather than you'll work it out, which is like, it seems a bit of a cop out sometimes, but I guess they do know that we will work it out. And well, we have to work it out. It's like we work it out or we'll just get blocked. So I've been following it by and large, the journey, and it's not a logical journey. I mean, 3D things are logical, but when I started on this journey, it didn't seem very logical. I'm starting something, but it didn't really feel like there was a logic or progression to it, which was logical, or certain, particularly in the transmissions and meditations, because I started off, the first one was Earth Star Goddess, which was when I was in Greece, channeling this Grecian ancient goddess energy, and then it went off to something else and something else, and so it wasn't like I was staying on the Greek energies or staying with Sirius, or like some people stay with Arcturus, and it wasn't like that. It was like I'm going all over the place, and so I'm wondering, why is that? But I think my training over the last 20, 30 years has been to expand my mind to enable me to do that. So I'm not just specializing in Lyran transmissions or chakra healing. I'm opening up to, well, now what? what's next. And I just get
I love that.
almost, you know, in the
Yeah.
morning I might get the download, and it kind of takes 10 seconds, and I'm like, oh, there's a whole thing. I've got to unpack it now and work it out. And so I think I've kind of trained myself in that. And my partner sometimes complains that I forget things. And I've said, well, look, I've got 4 transmissions at the moment, all kind of trying to download. And if I forget the onions, you have to forgive me. Doesn't always forgive me.
I love that. Do you think that curiosity kind of plays a role in terms of keeping that openness and not getting, you know, in one particular, you said like Lyrian transmissions or chakras or anything like that? Do you have to keep that kind of open curiosity to allow what needs to come through you? Is that a part in it?
Yeah, well, certainly I think dealing with ego resistance, which is for a lot of people, it's their journey, isn't it? That overcoming their doubting mind, the mind, am I good enough? Do I know enough? I mean, I think everyone on the path probably goes through this to some degree. And certainly when you become public, it gets a little bit more intense sometimes. So dealing with the ego voices and having to deal with the doubt and the self, am I worthy? Am I capable? Do I have what it takes? And who am I? All those kind of things. So dealing with that, and then really expanding the limits of my mind. So pushing the limits and expanding. So I kind of, I feel like I'm on a kind of spiritual master's degree that's ongoing. And I kind of like the ongoing learning. So every day I can learn something new. Every day there's a new thing, new someone to connect with that's new and opens my mind. I don't really want to be stuck in a rut particularly. So I think it suits me to have new beings connect with me, or my mind being opened in new ways. I think when I was training, and certainly the last 20 years before I did this work, I was doing a whole range of workshops, from tantra to voice work to somatic work to, you know, meditation work. So I was doing a range, and even meditations. I explored many different types of meditation. I was really curious. I did Buddhist meditation for a few years, and I even helped to organize a meditation course presenting different teachers of meditation. I used to be a director of alternatives, this organization in London, and I probably helped organize about 2,000 author events, teacher events. So I've heard over 20 years or so, well now 30 years, many people speak on different things, and I've allowed my mind to expand and go, what the dots, where do the dots connect? Where do they kind of not quite connect? Where the patterns form? Where are the things which are missing? I'm kind of eternally curious. I think I am eternally curious. And I think that's a good trait to have. And the other thing I think I have is a desire for daily inspiration. I quite like to stay inspired, and doing these kind of interviews, or interviewing other people, or meeting clients, or doing workshops are continuous inspiration. So I think it's inspiration and curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's important.
Yeah.
And that inspiration is what connects us with the divine. You know, it comes through inspiration. That's how we receive ultimately. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm interested because we're talking about the spiritual path. You know, my understanding is that we're spiritual beings having human experiences. So in that sense, we're all spiritual. So when you talk about the spiritual path, what do you mean by that?
Well, I suppose most people in the world, I kind of have this definition. I don't think it's really my definition, but I've heard it and it seems to fit, where there's these kind of different layers of vibration, you call it density, 3D to 4D to 5D. A lot of people use these terms. So 3D to me is the dense earth plane, which is the earth plane we read about in the newspapers. It's the news when we listen to news at 10. You know, I don't know if you have that in Portugal, but news at 10.
I try not to listen to it, to be fair.
Yeah. It's certainly in England, we have a paper called the Daily Mail. It used to be News of the World, but now I think the Daily Mail has taken over from them. These kind of newspapers are really pointing the finger. Who's to blame? Who's at fault? What's the worst things which are going on in the world? And let's really amp up the stories. Let's amp up the drama. And on TV, there are lots of dramas and soaps, which are really 3D living, you know, mundane. My mother used to listen to watch all these soaps, EastEnders, EastEnders, Neighbours, and there was like she used to watch one after another, and I used to say, but that's kind of the life that. Why are you interested in that? Why? What's of any Benidorm or whatever these things are? And I think they're so mundane and boring, and gossipy, and who is now doing what to who, and anyway, that's the 3D world. And we know that world because if if you go through a normal school, if you go through a normal job, you're dealing with that world. It's like um, gossiping, backbiting, complaining. There's a lot of complaining going on in the corporate 3D world. When I went in through my dark night of the soul, I was a director of this spiritual organization, and then when I went through the dark night, I gave it up, and I had to get a job eventually after a year or so, and so I did some consultancy work. But then I drove a London bus for a year, and my goodness, the complaining was like, if I really wanted to hear and see complaining, experience it, that was the place. Not from the staff and the public, everyone was complaining. The management, everyone was complaining. Yeah.
Is
So I
that
went
because
from
the buses were always late, or
well,
standing in the English weather?
the company I worked for, which was run by a German, it was owned by a German company, and so there's a very Germanic kind of push through the management. So the management were always pushing for faster times and more. So there was no rest. So the drivers were worked pretty hard, and so the management were always complaining and always calling you into their office or always something. And then there was always inspectors coming on, and then there's the public who were never satisfied. Of course, you're the front line, so if they're not happy, if the bus is 3 minutes late, you're the one going to get it. So I went from an organization where everyone loved what we did, and it was gratitude daily, and I don't remember hardly a complaint once a year, to every day was complaining. So this is my like, oh, wow, this is the 3D world of complaining. And unhappy people. I don't think many people were very happy in that job, really. So 3D is a very unhappy place. People struggle, they're suffering, they're martyred, they're limited, they feel blocked, there's drama. That's the 3D world.
And it's often fear-based, isn't it? The 3D. When you talk about the news, it's fear programming, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's around the fear around will I have enough money? Will I have enough food? Is there enough? Or the whole fear goes on, fear, shame, guilt, those kind of low frequency vibrations are kind of endemic in that world. And of course, most people and it's a very stressful world. And for a lot of people in that world, the stress gets to a point when they go, you know what, I can't do this anymore. There must be something better. And I think that's where they start looking for a different way, maybe mindfulness, or maybe Reiki, the kind of easy things to access, or maybe a bit of crystal healing or something, I don't know, something kind of fairly open and easy, or coaching or counseling. They might go for that. So the 4D world is where a being is kind of had enough of the 3D world and starts to encounter the 4D world. Is the world of energy. It's the world of spiritual ideas and techniques, really, I would say. I mean, there's everything from the Buddhist mindfulness to the chakra healing level to the more end of light body, metaphysical, expanding your DNA, activating your DNA and connecting with star beings, or connecting with your higher self and guides, and etc. So I think there's a progression into that, because at the beginning of anyone, it's like, is this real? How do I know this is for real? I think most people want to know that.
The level of sort of potential, transformation and potential. Would you see that as being more 5D?
I see healing is 4D, healing and opening to something new, and maybe experiencing something new is 4D. A lot of the spiritualist churches are very 4D. There are a lot of organizations that are presenting very 4D stuff. There's really kind of 4D is like an introduction into the world where you can put a toe in, before you start going deeper into something like maybe plant medicine, or which is, I mean, something like magic mushrooms might be at the lighter end, but something like ayahuasca might be at the very more intense end. But for me, 5D is where you've gone through 4D, you've experienced a number of things, and you've kind of answered the question, is this for real? Yes, it is for real. I don't need to answer that question anymore. So my brother's a medium, he works in the 4D world. He sees spirits. He's very good at it. He can give you messages. And basically, the whole ethos of it is to prove the existence of life after death. But he's been doing this for 30 years, proving that one thing. But for me, I don't need that proof anymore. I don't need to. I've got it, so I can move on.
It's that inner knowing, isn't it? I'm the same. I had a really deep spiritual journey in my 20s. I lost my fiance, and I had to make that spiritual connection. And once you've got it, it's an inner knowing, isn't it?
Yeah. So once you've answered the question, is it for real? Does it work? Oh, is it for real? Does it work? So yes, this feels real. And does it work? All these principles of manifesting and healing, does it work? And I had it answered for me, and I got my mind put to rest. So yes, this does work. Let's go deeper into it. So I dived really deeper into rituals and mantras and ceremonies and a little bit of plant medicine, not masses of it, and channeling and doing a lot of metaphysical work and going out into the wilds of the woods and doing vision questing and I think I wanted to explore as much as possible. And really, my question was, I'm quite pragmatic. What works? What actually works for me? And if it works for me, I've got the assumption it might well work for other people, and not everything has worked for me, I would say. So like, maybe it will work for other people. It's not really working for me. And I kind of dive, why is it working? How does it work? What's the kind of ideas behind it work? What makes something work and what makes something not work so well? So I looked at practical things also like coaching, hypnotherapy, and those kind of things which were kind of more practical, NLP, that did work, and I thought, well, how do these work in conjunction with these other spiritual practices? So I started blending them together because I think coaching, I really like language and linguistics because I think language can heal or hurt or harm. So I kind of blended a kind of spiritual coaching with a lot of the healing I do, and kind of took some of the ideas of NLP that I liked, because NLP I find is not a totally light and bright world. It's mixed, like some of these worlds, where it's like one of those things. Yes, it can work, but you can also use it to not great ends. So because you can actually persuade and you can actually create change in people. So for example, in my own 3D family, I've got this big extended 3D family, and they're open but very skeptical. Like, what's Dad up to? What's Steve up to? And I was at a gathering recently, and there's two people in the family who are actually following me and just skeptical. They're like, what is all this Starseeds about? What is it all? And there's gatherings and they're asking me these difficult questions,
Yeah.
And I say, well, look, you have to understand Starseeds, you have to understand the multidimensionality of the soul, that we live many lifetimes. He said, well, I don't believe that. So I said, well, then let's stop there, because you're not going to get what I'm going to say next.
Yes.
But anyway, his daughter, who just came out of university with a first-class honors degree, wanted to go into law and was completely blocked. And we managed by synchronicity to get her an opening, which opened a lot of doors for her. And suddenly all of the doors were open. And she had an opportunity with this one company that if she passes this interview and if she passes some assessment, they'll pay for her law school and guarantee her a job in 2 years' time with £140,000 or something like massive.
Amazing.
So I had a chat with her, and she was highly anxious about this. And her parents were listening on with arms crossed. So I thought, I'm going to help her, but I have to help her in a way that's not going to freak her parents out. So I basically did a kind of coaching session with her, and basically helped her unconscious mind get that she could pass through this interview easily and effortlessly, no problem. It'll be fine. There'll be all kinds of high vibrations activated in the interview, blah, blah, blah. I just gave her the whole spiel.
Yeah.
And I think a week or so ago, I heard that she passed, she got through, and she burst into tears apparently when she passed. And her parents, I think her mother's a born-again Christian, are highly appreciative, even though they go, I've got no idea what you're up to, Steve.
What's going on? How
but
lovely
talking someone's language.
Family connection. It's feels quite healing in a way, because it's hard, isn't it, when we live in 3D families and we're doing other stuff, you know. It's
yeah, it's taken me 20 years to heal and for all the members of the family to love me again. So I've worked hard, and now we're all happy again. So even my ex-wife loves my partner, which is lovely. So they get on very well. And my ex-wife, who was very anti everything, anti crystals, anti everything, now when I go to Glastonbury, gives me orders. Can I buy crystal bracelets for healing stress? And so now she's wearing crystals, and she's kind of come around to crystals now.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think when we're doing this work, it is leading the way, isn't it? It's shining the light, and then others in their own time start to see it, you know, even if it might be decades later.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. They don't have to understand. And I'm not up to convincing anyone. I don't want to convince anyone. I want all of my kids and grandchildren to live a happy life. Actually, all my grandchildren come and steal all my crystals these days. So I'm endlessly having to buy them. And then, well, I kind of give them, and they kind of, their eyes get open when they go, "Ooh, crystals." So
my boy loves crystals. He holds them and he tells me all kinds of stuff. You know, they're very much tuned in, aren't they? The children to the crystals.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Yeah, I love crystals. I'm surrounded by angels, crystal angels. Here's one I got recently, which is like a massive orgonite tower with all kinds of crystals and Tesla coils. My granddaughter's eyeing it up, but it's too big for her to hold, so she can't have that one.
Or I've got this one. That one. Wait till she's got bigger hands.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and she likes my dragon. Here's my crystal dragon. She kind of likes that one. I've had this one for about 25 years actually. I do like my dragon. And I've got angels. I've got all kinds of things here. Yeah, surrounded by them. Oh, I got this one recently as well in Glastonbury. This one is my
lovely
clear quartz angel. Yeah. Hello. So the angels are surrounding me, crystal angels anyway. Yeah.
And that's our journey into 5D, really, isn't it? As well, that kind of shifting from the carbon structures. Is that something you can talk about, the journey we're going through?
Yeah, the journey on Earth is this ascension journey. And the ascension journey is basically shifting a whole planet into light and shifting the human communities into light. Now, this is not a small thing, because the planet has not been light for thousands of years. It's been rather dim or even dark.
A lot of darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of interest on planet Earth right now from star races, star councils, all kinds of beings. There's a lot of light flowing into the planet via the crystalline core of the sun. And also within Gaia herself, there's a kind of this crystalline grid. The old grid of the Earth is kind of being pushed aside, and there's this new grid, which is more about the future of the Earth. Starseeds coming in here to anchor a new light, because you really need boots on the ground to help anchor it, or otherwise the planet will ascend, but humanity will be kind of completely not able to ascend.
Function, really.
Yeah, they need people like me and you to kind of talk what they might think is nonsense, but eventually down the line they might go, there. Maybe there is sense in what Sarah's talking about or Steve's talking about, where there's initially always resistance, but eventually there's kind of openness. So the planet is shifting into light. That shifting into light is being resisted by certain forces on the Earth plane. You know, there are dark forces on the Earth plane, as we probably know. I mean, you have to be moving through 4D to 5D to even be able to see it. If you're in 3D, you wouldn't see it.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any sense. You'll look at it and go, 9/11, of course 9/11 is what the news is saying it was. But when you're kind of looking from a higher vibration, you go, no, that is a story that's being spun. That is a kind of PR.
Isn't it? It's how it, you know, when you're looking from different perspectives, it's yeah.
And the recent global lockdown nonsense show, if you're in 3D, people go, well, you know, the government saying this and the government are giving these rules, we must follow them, and it's for our own safety. But when you're in like 4D to 5D, you look at it and go, it's insane.
Yeah. What
they're doing. Like John Lennon said many years ago, basically the world is run by insane people for insane purposes. And when I heard that, I thought, what's he mean? But now I completely understand what he's saying. It's kind of there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of skullduggery going on. America, Britain, you know, the Western world, we're in 3D, you think we're in the democracy. 5D, we look at it and go, well, we're not as free as we might think, actually, in 3D. People might
so
think
it's finding that within ourselves ultimately, isn't it? And finding it in groups, you know, so that we can start to bring that freedom energy in. You know, so
yeah,
I feel like sovereignty is a key piece that we're moving into as we move into New Earth.
yeah, sovereignty, which means we can look at it with our own eyes and our own minds and see the truth. You know, people in 5D get a clearer idea of the truth. And, you know, which is not, I'm not talking about conspiracy theory, because in conspiracy theories, there are truth and there are misleading misinformation as well. It's a whole mixture, of course,
It
in that
really
community.
is. It's a,
You know,
it's
so
it's a tricky ground, isn't it? That's why we always just have to keep looking within for the truth ultimately.
yeah, you get a feeling of it's like when you start waking up into 4D, 5D, your intuition gets turned on, and someone can say something, and you're like congruent, or something's off with that,
Yeah.
you know, or you know, that kind of thing. I think you mentioned carbon-based to crystalline. The
Yeah.
human being itself is evolving. 3D carbon-based, 5D crystalline. The DNA is evolving. It's waking up because the DNA was switched off a long time ago to 2 strands, and all the junk DNA was scrambled. It wasn't junk; it was just scrambled. It's a bit like I heard someone say, imagine going in the library and all the books, apart from 2 shelves, have been thrown in the middle on a pile. Those books go somewhere, but actually someone scrambled them. And now we're unscrambling them, and the kind of shelves are reactivating, and the books are going back into place,
I love
and we're
that.
remembering stuff. You know,
I love that.
so we're going from a 2 strand to a 12 strand. Some people say there's more than 12 strands, but I think for now 12 strands is enough. As we activate the 12 strands, our chakra system comes online. We're primarily kind of 3 chakra beings in 3D. You know, the 3 lower chakras: base, survival, earth plane, tribal, sacral, emotion, sexuality, solar plexus, power, movement, you know, those kind of things. The heart is opening. You can say the heart starts to open in 4D. The throat starts really opening in 5D and beyond, and goes up, doesn't it? So
Yes.
we really want to open all chakras, all 12, which are beyond the body, and then all the mini ones in the hands and feet and higher heart and back of the, you know, all of these ones.
Yeah.
And our light body starts waking up, which is, you know, the layers of the aura start expanding in a new way. So we create these light bodies. But what tends to happen is that starseeds awakening in the 3D world will start to repel certain people and situations. Whereas in the 3D world, when you were vibing with them, that was fine. But now you're kind of vibing a different way, and you've got this light body. People look at you and go, there's something different about you in the 3D world.
Yes.
But your 5D people will start to come and be drawn to you.
And
You
it's
kind of,
beautiful.
yeah,
It's
you find your soul tribe.
absolutely family of
Yeah.
frequency. I
Yeah.
know, Steve, that you wanted to do a meditation or a transmission. I don't know if you prepared something or if you're just going to see what comes through. It feels like a good moment talking about that journey into the crystalline structure and activating the DNA.
Yeah. We can do so. I can certainly do something, see what comes. So open body, open mind, and connecting to the cycle of breath, where the in-breath is the invitation of light from the universe around, and the out-breath is the purging and releasing of lower energies. So just allow the in-breath, this invitation of light from the great star nation, 360 degrees around, into the bones, blood, and cells of the body. And anywhere you are holding lower frequency energies, purge and release on the out breath, sending it back to the light, back to the universe. Allowing more light into the physical body, into the bones, blood, cells, and DNA. Light. Oh. And with the cycle of breath, also light into the emotional body. A fluid field of energy that surrounds and penetrates the physical body. And anywhere you are holding other people's emotional energy or energies from the human collective, on the out breath, purge and release, sending it back to the universe, back to the light, allowing a greater sense of fluidity and space for your own soul's light in the emotional body. And light on the in-breath into the mental body. A fluid field of energy that surrounds and penetrates the emotional and physical bodies. Anywhere you are holding other people's mental energy, judgments, blame, opinions. On the out breath, purge and release, sending it back to the light. And open. And let me call your teams in spirit of the highest light and resonance, your higher selves, from the 6th dimension to the 12th dimension. Your monadic self, the oversoul, all 5D to 12D helpers, guides, angels, archangels, star beings, star races. All specialist teams in spirit working with you, come be with you now, come be with you now. And just feeling that connection, that click into your energy fields from the crown downwards. And let me quickly call the archangels of the horizontal plane. 4 archangels, beginning the east with Raphael, archangel of air of the mind. Calling that archangel to be with us today. And the energy of emerald green fire with that angel to hold our space. Just start to vibrate with that angel, that energy holding you. And to the south is Michael, archangel of the element of fire, warrior protector angel. And the energy of this angel is electric blue fire. Calling that fire into the field, begin to vibrate with that fire, these 2 angels, emerald green, electric blue. And to the west is Gabriel, archangel of water, of emotions, messenger angel. And this angel's energy is diamond white, crystalline energy. Allowing yourself to come in resonance with that angel. And then the 4th angel, completing the horizontal plane, the 4 directions, is Uriel of the north, archangel of earth, of structure, of form. And this energy is ruby red fire, 4 archangels, emerald green, electric blue, diamond white, ruby red. Just allow those 4 energies to hold your space. And the vertical force angels is Metatron and Sandalphon. Metatron from the great central sun that holds the Christ grid, the ascension grid of golden white fire from that sun. Allow that grid of light to begin to form around you. A fine grid of golden white fire holding the upper space, also being infused in the walls around you, floor beneath your feet, ceiling above your head. And Sandalphon of the crystalline grid of the earth below, calling that diamond crystalline light up into the space, into the feet, into the legs, into the base chakra, into the pelvic area, allowing these 2 angels of the vertical plane to open the inner channel and expand that channel between crown and base, allowing more light to flow into your energy field. And that light begins to form a great toroidal light in your energy field, light flowing down and around and up through the crown and down through the crown, like a kind of 3-dimensional donut, allowing your energy field to expand in light. And I just want to invoke now, if there are any energies from your past 3D experiences in this lifetime or any other lifetime that are still pulling on your field or still in your field or connected to your field or depressing your field, let's call those energies now. the past. Perhaps you might even see the past as a path behind you or to one side of you. And this is the old energy of the 3D carbon-based 2 strands, DNA strands, the non-sovereign being that you have been and you've passed through that period. Let's call angelic light to begin to transmit through you and back down that path, clearing the path behind you or to the side of you, clearing the past, any dense energies, any cording, pulling you back to old situations, people you've known, pulling you back to people you've known or groups you've been connected to that you no longer need to be connected to, dissolving in gold light, clearing the path backwards in time, releasing the pull of the past, what has been, the judgments of the past, the projections of lower energies onto you about your worth, about your capability, about what's possible or not possible for you, clearing all of those projections, perhaps from family, perhaps from friends, certainly the education system, certainly the old 3D world of work. Burning and purging and releasing, clearing up the past. Imagine you can see that past as a path that you can look down to you as a young adult, or to you as an adolescent, or to you as a child, or to you as a toddler, or to you as a baby, or to you in the womb of your mother. See that path in the past and notice how clear is it, or dense is it, or broken is it. Anywhere the path is broken or dense, call the angels to transmit through you a bright light, clearing up any density. Anywhere the path is broken, ask the angels to transmit a bright light over those broken paths, like bridges of light over the broken paths, forming a clear path behind you. Even where the path has been broken, you can mend the broken path all the way back to you as an adolescent, sending light back to you as an adolescent. Adolescence is not always an easy time, allowing the angels to transmit through you back to that point in time, or points in time, perhaps times where it was difficult or traumatic. Clearing out any interference, clearing out also as a smaller child, anywhere you've experienced challenges or blocks or limitations or trauma, sending light back to you in the past, freeing you up, freeing your inner child up, freeing your inner adolescent up to be more fluid, more sovereign, and also sending light back to you as a baby, a child, and you in the womb. Light to you in the womb, that everything is going to work out all right. You've come this far, and you are the future self guiding all of these past selves forward in time. They're not alone. They're not unloved. They are guided. They are loved. Just clearing the past, sending light back to the past, and then turning to the future from the present moment, looking at the path into the future. This is the future you, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ahead. Just notice how the path looks. What can happen as you clear up the past is the future can also begin to clear up, as projections of energy from the past are no longer being projected into the future. Allow a transmission of light through your being into the future, perhaps 6 months ahead of time, perhaps a year ahead of time and beyond. A transmission of light, allowing the light from the great central sun and the core of the earth through your field and out into that path, allowing the path to become stable and light and bright and wide. Perhaps either side of the path, fertile and bright. Take a step on that path into the future, and as you do so, you may notice there are many beings of light either side of the path, guiding you, walking with you on this path you're in, on this earth walk you're in. Along the path in the future, many beings of light that you're coming to meet on the earth plane. Maybe you haven't met them yet. You're going to meet them. Many new projects, new opportunities as energy fields of light or doorways of light. Just call them and notice them on the path ahead. The path behind you clearer. The path ahead of you beginning to fill with light. Beings of light holding that path, brighter, stronger. You can see new opportunities on that path, new people you're going to meet. And you have a soul mission here. You've come to the earth plane for a reason, and that reason is in the now, can activate in the now, and will also guide you towards the future, where you're going, where you're heading, who you're going to meet, what you're going to do, what gifts, multidimensional gifts you've come to activate on the earth plane, in this body, and take another step forward on that path of light and begin to step along that path into the future, as far as you want to go. Perhaps you might even meet a future version of you as light, perhaps vibrating at a higher frequency than you are now. If you do so, meet that being and begin to resonate with that higher frequency of light and open up to any guidance that you're open to now. Receive from this future self. The pathway before you is open. The pathway before you is solid and stable and held in love and held in light. There are many versions of you, future selves, that vibrate at a higher frequency, that are already ahead of you in terms of time on this earth plane, that have a greater wisdom that you can connect to. And just have a breath. If you want to merge with one of those future selves, do so and feel the frequency of light in the very bones and blood and cells and DNA, helping to activate you from a carbon-based to much more of a crystalline-based being, activating all chakras within you, activating your multidimensional gifts, expanding your mind, connecting your mind to your higher mind, and breathe and open. And bringing that resonance back along the path to the present moment. Thank your future self and come back along the path to the present moment, vibrating with the path clearer in the past, clearer in the future. And then begin to breathe and allow the path to disappear, beings to disappear for now, with your breath coming back to your physical body and wiggling your fingers and toes. Begin to come back, begin to come back. And love and blessings to you.
That was amazing.
There we are.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Great. Well,
we had someone on a few months ago who did a journey to the future self, but it was really nice to connect back into the past self and then bring it to the future. That was very powerful.
Yeah. I think we often project our past into the future, so it's nice to start clearing up the past a little bit, and then before going into the future. And that's my philosophy anyway. So yeah,
that was wonderful.
Great.
I loved it. Thank you.
Great.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish up today? Do you have any last thoughts?
Well, the earth plane's a bit volatile at the moment. It's a bit chaotic. As light and dark forces meet, it's like two rivers meeting. It's a bit choppy. But don't worry, as long as you stay connected to your inner guidance, your intuition, you'll be guided wherever you need to go through all your challenges, you know. And we don't have to fear the dark. They're doing what they need to do. The light is on the increase. Nothing can stop it, really. So find your soul tribe, get support, keep meditating, find silence, and yeah, find your own unique spiritual practice that holds you in light daily.
Fabulous. And everyone do look up Steve. I'm going to put all your links in the description. So Steve has got an incredible amount of resources on his YouTube channel. So there's all kinds of wonderful meditations on there. So do look him up. And thank you so much, Steve, for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Sarah.
And thank everyone for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.